What's up, Madridistas, and welcome to the Managing Madrid podcast. This is your host, Kian Sobani, live from Santiago Bernabeu. In a minute, we're going to be breaking down Real Madrid's 2-0 win over Getafe. But first, I wanted to tell you guys that we are now 1 week away from, no, less than 1 week. We're just a few days away from our event in Toronto. So if you're in Toronto, if you're in Ontario, if you're in Canada or anywhere close, please come hang out with us on December 6th. We're going to be giving away some stuff. We got myself there. We got Mehdi Hassan there, the Toronto Real Madrid Pena. If you don't know other Madridistas in Toronto, you want to meet us, you want to meet other Madridistas, come out to our December 6th event. I'm going to link it in the show notes so you can click and RSVP. We're going to play some pickup footy. We're going to do a podcast. And I also wanted to give a quick shout out to TAC Sports because TAC Sports is hosting the podcast. And if you want to enroll your kids in an academy, that's the place to do it. Go to tacsports.ca. We're very thankful for them for hosting our podcast and being so good to us and so good to this podcast. So go to tacsports.ca. If you're in Toronto and you want to register your kids in an academy, that's where you want to go. Also, Black Friday coming up. Moji-mates.com, moji-mates.com, moji-mates.com. All this cool swag you're seeing on the screen, you can go and basically pick your favorite player and get them on the shirt. Christmas is coming up if you celebrate. If not, you just want a discount, use code BF 2024 for a special Black Friday discount for all the Managing Madrid podcast listeners. All right, we're going to bring in Siddharth Ramsundar in about 25 seconds, and we're going to break down Real Madrid's win over Getafe. So sit back, enjoy. Let's get it started.
Nice article in the Managing Madrid blog. Wonderful lads that do a great job there. And worth reading about that man there. Karim Benzema needs to rest, and the numbers reveal why.
Times ended up almost looking like a 6-3-1. Some very good writing about that on the Managing Madrid website. First-rate podcast as well. Of course, Fede Valverde was a huge part of the equation.
Hello and welcome to the Managing Madrid podcast. I'm your host, Kian Sobani, joined today by Siddharth Ramsundar. First of all, my apologies. I do not have my microphone with me here, so my audio quality will not be as crisp as usual. Thankfully, Siddharth does have his usual audio stuff set up. Sid, welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
Good. Just happy our expensive signing got on the score sheet. 3 points. Barcelona lost yesterday. It's looking good.
Barcelona lost yesterday. Real Madrid are now just 1 point back in the league table with a game in hand, destiny back in their hands. Said it early in the season. Barca might be peaking early. Got a lot of shit from Barca fans. We'll see how it goes, but they're kind of struggling right now. From the Real Madrid side of things, let's not pretend everything is rosy and beautiful. We are coming off a very brutal loss at Anfield. Brutal in the sense that it was just a bad performance. And there were a lot of talking points, which we did break down for our members. So thanks to everyone who joined us in our post-game show live from Anfield. We broke that down. This is, kind of back on track on where Real Madrid left off in the league against Leganes and Osasuna, where the defense was much better in those two games. Today, kind of, for the majority of this game, Sid, I would say the defense was pretty good. They did hit the post a couple times, but in the grand scheme of things, it was more inconsequential, and Real Madrid dominated this game. So what did you see from this game that you wanted to start with?
I think we should, I guess the basic formation, what we tried to do is a good start. The more of the 4-2-2-2, where we have Mbappe +1 in the last line, Bellingham +1 in the second line, whether that's Goulet or Brahim, and then the Fede Ceballos double pivot. I thought it was good in build-up. I like that Mbappe was not being asked to come to the ball on the left wing. He was stationed as a pseudo striker on the left wing, and I thought Brahim and Rodrigo were just fun in the first 30 minutes. I feel like the first 30 minutes before we scored was its own game because Getafe are fouling us every 2 minutes, but they're not holding as high a line because they're not down yet. So they're just trying to sit deep. I thought overall those were solid. Like, this is the third best defense in La Liga. They are probably the most thuggish team in La Liga. So it's easy to let this game be one where you play end to end. So I thought 30 minutes in, I didn't think we would let them take control of the game and make it their game. I thought, okay, this could be 0-0 for another 30, but we're approaching every play the same. Like, Ceballos is patiently building it out. What did you think?
So I was pretty happy with the formation. Obviously, in situations where Kamavinga and Tchouaméni are both not on the field, we have some past precedents, unfortunately, with this because they do tend to get injured quite a bit. And last year we had a stretch where we had neither Tchouaméni and Kamavinga on the field. It was about, I think, late fall, early winter last season, and Ancelotti's solution was to go with a double pivot of Cruz and Fede Valverde. So it was interesting to see Ceballos in that dynamic now. And you touched on the formation, 4-2-2-2, at times a bit of a 4-2-3-1. Sometimes Ceballos would drop in as a single pivot in the build-up phase. Sometimes it was him and Fede together. Jude obviously playing higher up the pitch. I thought it was a good solution in terms of maximizing the balance of the team with the remaining pieces you have left. I mean, the squad kind of, let's be honest, picked itself by default again. And I liked it. I liked Ceballos again. I think Ceballos has had a pretty good run of form here in these last few games. Not that there was much to get excited about the game in Anfield, but he was, for what it's worth, he was fine off the bench. So I liked the formation. I liked the way Real Madrid kind of balanced the game. You did bring up Getafe's defense. And look, Getafe will try to plug holes. As you said, they will try to go with a very thuggish style of play. We know this with them over the years. For what it's worth, I like the way we kind of combated that physicality. And I have to say, Raul Asensio, again, looked really good. He matched the Getafe physicality. He's hard to muscle off the ball. He's a strong guy. He's quick. He was covering on both spaces. He was going over to the left side to help Rudiger too, winning the ball. The challenges were very good, very composed under pressure. Probably had just, unless I missed something, and again, we don't have replays in this stadium for the large part, so I don't see everything as good as you guys see it on TV. But I think he had maybe one mistake where he was a little bit careless in possession in the box in the second half. But overall, he had a good game. And Vasquez was good, tracking on the wings. Both him and Fran Garcia were making good overloads, good underloads. And I thought, apparently Mbappe got man of the match, which is a discussion on itself. We can go there.
Yeah,
but I thought, Bellingham obviously, unfortunately, came off at halftime. But in the first half, everything flowed through Bellingham. I thought he was phenomenal. He was the main ball progressor in terms of he positions himself between the lines so that Fede and Ceballos have someone to hit between the lines. He gets the pass and plays the right pass. His defense is off the charts as usual. He's hunting players. He's tracking players. He's our only aerial threat, Sid. When you have Fran Garcia on the pitch, the funny thing with him is that the difference between him and Mendy is obviously that he just gets in the final third much, much, much more. And that's not hard to do because Mendy never gets into the final third, but Fran actually makes it a priority to attack and be proactive about making those overloads and putting these crosses in. But the funny thing is, when you've touched on this a lot, Sid, when we don't have an aerial presence in the box, who are those crosses going to? Bellingham is the only player who is actually making those runs and making himself a target into the box. So he has to do that. He has to progress the ball. He has to do everything, as we know. I thought he was really good. The pass on the Mbappe goal was phenomenal. The way he weighted that pass perfectly. Loved that. And Mbappe, I got to just tell you, bro, I've been to quite a few games here at the Bernabeu. And one of the most interesting things is the Mbappe Bernabeu experience this season is hilarious, a little bit ridiculous, And it's just like this rinse and repeat cycle of him getting the ball in transition, this collective anticipation, but also this collective like, we don't really think it's going to happen, but we're kind of anticipating getting out of our seats kind of anyway. And then he misses, and then it's like groans and face palms, and then applause around the stadium, just really just like rooting for him, like, please, please, for the love of God, can you please get going? And I don't know what you thought of his performance. I'll just say what I thought, and then I'll pass it over to you. I think he's still struggling. I think there's still a mental block with him. The goal he scored was phenomenal. The speed, the touch to set himself up, and a finish from outside the box. Kind of, I thought, like, from certain angles, it just, from my angle anyway, watching it, it was very Ronaldo Nazario-esque, the finish and the body movements. So you can see how devastating he can be in a single moment. But we're just waiting. Like I told you guys after the Liverpool game, the ketchup bottle is just not quite open yet. There's still a little bit of dry ketchup on the bottle. Someone left it out. It's not pouring out yet. So it's not quite there. And every time he does score a golazo or even a regular goal, we're hoping that this is where the floodgates open, but they quite don't. The second half, the breakaway, he at least rounded the keeper, because I thought there have been moments this season where he should just round the keeper, but he doesn't, and he shoots and it's saved. He at least rounded the keeper, and he just couldn't finish. And there was another chance where Fran Garcia set him up. There were moments where, like, okay, this is better, but there were also moments of, like, you can clearly see he's not fully there yet.
Yeah, I've been paying close attention just because it's definitely taken a lot of us off guard. And it's the fact that he's still getting chances, but so many things are off. And even if some of the things start coming right again, we would be fine. And I thought today was a good illustration of that. Carlo mostly got things right. As a team, we got things mostly right. And if he was clinical, we destroy them. He wasn't clinical, so we don't destroy them. At least he scored. I thought that was the bare minimum. But with that said, it was more like, it wasn't as simple as he scored and then he missed a bunch. I feel like it was first 30 minutes I'm watching him. He takes 3 touches, I remember. I'm just watching every touch at this point just to, like, pay attention. One on the right flank, miscontrols. It was like aerial, just kind of struggles to hold it down. One on the left wing when he's, like, in the left half space, in the left winger cut-in zone. Also, like, slow to control it, doesn't do much. This is all before the goal. And then he has one where he's near, I think, Brahim or Rodrigo or Vasquez on the right side. That one, he takes a touch, and you can just feel, like, how frenetic he is, his body language. It's like looking for an option, searching while guys are open, and he could just let it go, but he's just searching while they're open. And he still let it go a little faster. And, like, that just looks so off. Like, that's everything off about you. You're confused. There are, like, 2 guys open. Your gravity created the space. Just release it. And he's just, like, hesitant. And so the goal was great, but I thought even on the goal, his touch was actually not good. The finish was good. Like, he's just so fast that the amount of separation he created was enough to save the bad touch. And that's where I keep coming back to with Mbappe. He is always going to be so fast that it's going to be a matter of, like, just look up and play the through ball. You will find him against top level defenders. He simplifies the creation aspect for creators. So I thought after the goal, I feel like he started getting actually open more. Like, we actually started feeding him. Getafe, even the goal was a function of us being up 1-0. They press up high. They're trying to equalize. And I thought after we went up, in terms of off-ball movement, I actually feel like he did his job. Let's leave the touches, the dribbling, the decision-making. I get that when the ball's at his feet, it's bad. I feel like we got a little more of, like, what we saw in the first half of the Clásico again, where we're just actually finding him. That was kind of gone after the Clásico. I feel like since then, we've stopped finding him. Like, there are levels to being bad. There was September where he was okay. October, like Clásico, and November where he was bad. I feel like we saw a step back towards September. And I think it's dishonest to pretend every month has been equally bad.
Yeah, I'll go back to something that Lucas said about a month ago. He got injured heading into the derby, if you remember, and he was just getting going. He actually, like, was looking better. He was looking good. And we were getting excited, and then he gets injured. And Lucas has said this several times, that, like, that injury was kind of a derailment in his progress this season, and it really hurt his just his momentum, I guess. You're right about the off-ball stuff. At least I noticed that he was making several runs today, which was positive. He is not like there are players who struggle, who just don't get on the ball, and whether it's a lack of service or whether it's a lack of their own volition to get into the right zones, Mbappe really can't complain about not getting service, not getting some great passes fed into him. There were several today, whether it was Ceballos or whether like Ceballos. Well, we have to have a Ceballos segment, in my opinion. He had some great through passes today, not like directly to Mbappe, but like to set up Fran Garcia, or like kind of playing this hockey assist that eventually leads to a great Mbappe chance. But Mbappe is getting passes into the correct zones that he normally would get at PSG and he would thrive in. This is not a matter of positioning for me. It's not about left wing, down the middle. It's about every game he's getting passes into the right zones that he would normally cook in. And I think there was one in the second half that struck me more than the other misses. And that was, what minute was it in? Let me see if I can just pull it up for context. I think I don't have it. I thought I did. So anyways, he gets the ball and it's a great chance. And he should have just cut outside and just finished it near or far post. It doesn't matter. But he decides to take an extra touch and cut outside and then cut inside and then cut back outside, and he just gets dispossessed. And moments like that, you can just kind of see he's too hesitant. He's not decisive enough. He's not quick enough with his thoughts and actions. The goal he scored was very quick thinking, and I think he just needs to simplify it more. And Carlos said it after the Liverpool game. He said he's coached many players who have had low confidence spells, and often the solution is to just take less touches and stop overthinking it. And that's obviously the advice he gave to Vinny when Vinny was struggling with his finishing a couple years ago. So yeah,
I thought we saw the beginnings, and yeah, he's still taking too many touches, and I think that can change. Another thing is, like, I do think there is merit to the idea that between like physical and mental health, he's just off. Like, he needs some time to just work through it. He's still really fast, but I even feel like physically he's a little bulkier than before, just very mildly, not much. He's a little slower than before, and I think all those things do sort themselves out. I feel like today is the sort of pushback for me on the idea that he's anything like Eden Hazard. Hazard wasn't like some great off-ball runner who kept trying. He got hurt, then he was done. That's it. He never came back. Mbappe got hurt in September, and he's still figuring it out, you know?
Yeah, I still don't see this. The Hazard parallel is drawn, obviously, because it's a big signing that didn't work out. And in Mbappe's case, I don't see it that way. The more correct parallel would be like if he goes through a mental decline, it would be something like what Raul went through post 2004. But it's still too early to make this judgment call. It's true that right now he's struggling, but we have to have this conversation a little bit later into the season for me to talk about it definitively. It's December 1st. These are the chances on the screen. This is the thing, like Barca, I think I've scored something like 14 goals more than us, if I'm not mistaken, while being only 1 point ahead. And part of it will come down to stuff like this. These are not like half-ass chances. 94th minute, Kylian Mbappe, 0.56 XG. 73rd minute, Kylian Mbappe, 0.58 XG. Those are two huge chances. That
is the biggest sign he's a funk. That is
Yeah.
the biggest sign he's in a funk. Statistically, it's impossible for a player to consistently score like those chances he did and miss the ones he did consistently. And it won't happen. If you repeat this game for 10 years, this wouldn't continue for more than a 3 to 6 month stretch in 10 years. If you simulated it, if you had a simulator and just ran this again and again, the maximum amount of time is low. And seeing above 0.5 is crazy, Keon. You don't usually see chances that big. That's what I keep trying to point out. I think the fundamental thing is it's harder to be a player who can get a 0.56 XG chance than it's just much harder to achieve that. And the relative amount of skill it takes to put that chance away is actually lower than being able to generate it in the first place. I think that's what people miss. And they see a mental funk. I don't know. Have people not been through funks before? You've been through funks, right, Kian? Like, we've seen players begin through funks. Like, Carlo has too.
Well, this is the thing. And look, when we're talking about underperforming XG, and in today's case, it was quite extreme, it's probably not sustainable. Like, in most cases, when great players are underperforming XG, it's a phase that almost every great player, I wouldn't even say almost every great player in football history, including Cristiano Ronaldo, has gone through. And then you kind of zoom out and you look at a sample size over like a few years and you realize that's just a minor blip in their career. In this particular case, the season changes a lot for me if he takes those chances. It doesn't erase the fact that his on-ball stuff doesn't look great. He can take all of these chances and still look like he's struggling when he gets the ball. But if he's struggling with his on-ball stuff, but he's taking these chances, the complexion of his confidence changes, if that makes sense. So, like you said, if you replay this stuff 9 times out of 10, he's going to score that empty net that when he rounded the keeper. He scores a couple more of those. It feeds into the confidence. It's a complicated discussion to have because a lot of us are just trying to figure out what's going on and none of us really quite understand it. I don't think Carlo quite understands it. I don't think Mbappe quite understands it. I think everyone will have their theories and think they understand it, but I don't think they quite do because it's very strange what's happening. But if he's taking those chances, this conversation, not only for him, but also Real Madrid changes this season and how we're talking about the team. And the fact that he hasn't gotten going yet, he scored 10 goals. Real Madrid are 1 point behind the league with a game in hand. With all these injuries, puts us in a similar conversation that we had last season, which is like, we haven't gotten going yet. Bellingham is carrying the team. Vinicius has barely played football. He's out for 2 months. We had ACL injuries. We had Camavinga and Tchouaméni out of the team, and we're still in this position. Then we're in a situation where it can only get better, right? That's the glass half full optimistic outlook that we have. Having said that, I just want to remind people that despite us winning the last 3 games in La Liga and being in this position and Barca now struggling, we got Atalanta coming up, which is a much more difficult game, and Liverpool, which was the much more difficult game. We failed that test, and I can't sit here and say like, okay, we're back on track after a win against Getafe. I can't say that. We got a massive game coming up in the Champions League. You drop points there, it's truly DEFCON 1. It's the sirens are blaring in the entire city. Like you're in a situation where you're just, it's must win those last 2 games. But again, this game against Getafe, it's fine. It's just one of those games we're going to analyze, but it's something we're going to forget about quickly. Atalanta coming up is the big one.
I think last season we had such an easy stretch now, and we had till January to kind of get our stuff together until we went to the Super Cup. That was our big litmus. We don't have that room now. But yeah, the fact that that La Liga's in our own hands, this is what we were talking about with Mbappe. He just had the worst 3-month stretch of his career since he went to PSG. And this is the margin of error we have, where you still get what, like 8-9 goals? Is that what we have? Like, I think the worst season of your career where you miss chances you shouldn't miss. You're having mental health issues. You look like you don't belong on the pitch. You're scoring 16 to 20. I mean, hey, the worst season of Benzema's career, he scored like 8. I know that we want him to be Ronaldo and not Benzema. Benzema's career arc wasn't like this great from a young age. But I believe the main thing is, I think Carlos improved sufficiently in small games. Now we're seeing the last 3 La Liga games where if a team's not going to be able to like press and play good attackers against us, I think we've kind of figured out, don't play too fast. The goals will come, circulate. The bigger games, it's harder because like teams press better. And so you need to go longer to Mbappe. But when he's not taking the touches, the same margins like we had today, we don't have them in big games. And that's where, yeah, again, if he was better alone, if he was at his best, you could screw up the tactics in a big game and get away with it. He's that kind of player. And I feel like those will be litmus tests. For what it's worth, I feel like Atlanta still is like a team that presses more naively, if that makes sense, than, I don't know, Barcelona. I guess Barcelona did press like without abandon. But I feel like maybe the history of how many times we've beaten Atlanta, like this Gasperini thing, this number of times we've beaten this press going back to Zidane in 2021 gives me some confidence. I feel like we're just buying time more than anything. This team, it's like last season where we have to buy time in November and December. And we did last season. I don't know if we will now.
Buying time is the Real Madrid motto. Buy time until you figure it out in the springtime. Bellingham injury, just wanted to point it out that it's not anything serious from what I understand. When I spoke to someone here, it was possibly a concussion or a head injury, and he felt dizzy, which hopefully is nothing serious. And usually in cases like that, it's just a precaution more than anything else, and he should be okay. You're definitely going to need him in San Mamés and at Atlanta, and I would assume he'll be there. The penalty, and Ancelotti said after the game, because I didn't attend the press conference, and I just read up the quotes. Ancelotti is saying that Mbappe was supposed to be the designated penalty taker, but they decided that Bellingham would take that one. And if that penalty would have happened in the second half, which obviously it wasn't a handball, then Mbappe would have taken that one. The penalty was very interesting technique. I don't know if you had any thoughts on the penalty, but it was very, very. It was almost like one of the more exaggerated stutter steps I've seen, but it was a great finish from Jude.
Yeah, most exaggerated I've seen. Like, I've never seen a player like jump like that. I feel like maybe they pretend to leap, but he literally felt like he leaped almost, and then he did it. I haven't seen one like that. I was nervous. I was just like, okay, they're handing it off. Like, you can't miss this one. And it's clear Jude took it very seriously, so I'm happy. Was it? I know Lucas tweeted this. Is it true that like Mbappe refused to take it, or was like Jude just going to take the next one?
I don't know if Lucas said that because he saw something I didn't see. Again, like here in the stadium, we're kind of less informed with that stuff, so I don't know. I didn't see. But I think Carlo actually kind of clarified that because he did say it. And look, what Lucas is saying probably checks out because, as Carlos said after the game, Mbappe was a designated penalty taker. So in that situation, Mbappe probably stepped aside, and, you know, that could go either way, right? Players are often like praised for like having the balls to step up and take penalties, but remember against Manchester City in the penalty shootout, Fede Valverde said, I decided not to take one because I wasn't, feeling as confident. I'm paraphrasing, but it was in order for the good of the team, right? He wanted to have the confident players step up. And it could be something similar in Mbappe's case in that, he missed the penalty at Anfield. He wanted Jude to take it, and maybe he was thinking of the collective rather than trying to get himself out of a funk. And as we know, if you step up and miss another penalty, then that has negative consequences. It has inverse consequences. So that's probably the thinking behind it, and that's an assumption. But just putting 2 and 2 together and reading the tea leaves.
Can I share something funny for entertainment?
Yes, of course, anytime.
I just have to. I know it's not just looking across the English channel here real quick. Mehdi had a funny tweet. He's like always trying to be Mourinho, shaking my head.
Pep is on another one this season, man. Even by his standards, he is just giving us gold after gold after gold. They lost, right? I just saw that Liverpool were winning, but I didn't see the
2-0. Salah got his goal. Even Cody Gakpo scored. It's like, everything's coming full strength, but full circle for them. It's funny, when Carlo wins the Champions League, I'm going to have to create another apology letter because I was like out here calling for him to be sacked in November when we put it all together, when we played Liverpool in April or May and they're tired from the title race and we go suffer for an hour at Anfield and counter attack and Mbappe puts his chance away. Vinny dribbles Trent. It's so funny that I'm starting to believe again. I think I know we have to see more, but like just break this guy out of his funk. Just keep the main encouraging thing for me today is they didn't try to play him on the ball. They just kept him off the ball. This thing we did this last month where he was playing on the left wing and we were force feeding him like, hey, like take the Vinny touches in the left wing zone. Stupid. He's not a Vinny primary creator. I think that mental clarity we see there and just the desire to play composed, if we have the right like intentions, we're so much better than when we try to press. So I think in general, the restraint we've shown has been better. And as long as like Raul Asensio's here, it looks like we have some stability in defense, which is crazy. He really is like stable. It feels like watching Nacho in his best games, like just reliable.
So just a quick point you were making earlier about you're starting to get hope for the season again. Part of that hope comes from the delusion of watching this team so many times over the years and knowing that what the team looks like in May and June is often wildly different than what it looks like at this point of the season. And I think it's always kind of amusing and very entertaining to see fans of other teams get unnecessarily overexcited and overhyped about A, their own team, and B, Real Madrid situation. So look, let Liverpool fans be excited about their current state. Let Barca fans continue to ride the wave of their Clasico win. Let's see where this all ends up. I did want to talk about Ceballos, but there's a super chat about him, so that works out. Let's take 2 super chats. I gotta jet out of here soon. So Ural Desai, our YouTube member, says, it's funny that Mbappe has missed multiple 0.5 XG chances, but at the same time scored 0.05 XG bangers. Hopefully he figures it out. Yeah, I thought this was interesting because part of the reason superstars and all-time greats are all-time greats because they can outperform their XG consistently, and those are the players you need to have. Now, what typically should happen in those situations and what prime Mbappe looks like is that he's both scoring these 0.05 XG bangers plus converting the easier 0.5 XG chances, which I think will normalize. He's had a few golazos this season, Sid. Maybe 3. I think that's fair to say.
And they've been like decisive too. Like usually come in moments where that extra goal just ends the game right there, or maybe opens the scoring. So for sure, that's just where it's so weird. Like, okay, he scores 3 bangers, he misses every chance. He's still running behind guys. Guys still have no chance when he decides he wants to burn them. They have no shot. Like the separation he's creating on these through balls is ridiculous. We haven't seen this. We see it from Vinny, no doubt, and we've seen it from Ronaldo and Bale. I feel like with Vinny, since he's also so good on the ball, he doesn't like his game isn't just release me in behind 10 times a game. That's not his game. And he's gotten so good as a creator that, that's not what we want from him. But with Mbappe, the best games are ones where we consistently notice how much separation he creates from through balls. Like that means we're doing a good job using him. And that space between the right center back and the right back, it's really important that he lives there. I don't think he should stand anywhere else, Kian. Like anytime he's anywhere else, he's not like keeping them on their toes, and he's not in a position where he can attack the box. Keep him there. And I think the whole thing we have to work on that we got right today with Fran is like, you remember that late sequence when Fran overlapped and Mbappe was a decoy, ball went through defenders and Mbappe all the way to Fran, and he had an overlap cut back for Mbappe. Didn't hit Mbappe. But I think so if you play Mbappe in that space, you need someone to drag the right center back away. You need someone to drag the right back away. Make guys make those runs. Practice sequences where they're making those runs, peeling away, and he's just running into that space. This is what Tuchel did so effectively years ago. It's and going deeper, like this is what Gabriel Jesus did when he played us in 2020 when we had Carvajal Ramos. Pep had that whole thing where he was trying to get Jesus in behind them. That gap is where a player of his profile should live. He's not Ronaldo, where he can also live between the center backs and head the ball, as we keep establishing. I think also it's definitely noticeable how, like at 0-0, La Liga defenses do give him problems though, because like you either need to be otherworldly like Messi on the ball or otherworldly like physically where you can head it. If you can't do either, you are going to have some limitations that can only be sorted through some sort of coaching. You're not going to transcend every game. And this was why we've always talked about for years. That's the only thing Haaland had on him, the heading. I still think this level of movement nobody else has. What do you think of the Fran? Do you think Fran like has kind of carved it? I feel like Fran has displaced Mendy this week.
Well, just really quickly before it goes away, if you guys want to see something cute, it's Courtois playing footy with his kids on the. I don't know if you guys can see, but I'll just turn the laptop around. Super cute. So on Fran, yeah, I agree with you. I've been saying it all season. I think he has. Now, I don't think it's enough for Carlo to trust him over Mendy on these big Champions League games. Still, I think Carlo is going to trust Mendy with his life in those games. But from an overall production standpoint, I think Fran brings more to the table. And the thing with Fran is, like, he's not Marcelo offensively, but his overloads and underloads just create space on offense, and it helps. Especially when Vinicius is not in the field, and you don't necessarily. When Vinny is on the field, maybe, like, don't get me wrong, I understand why Carlo kind of prefers Mendy in certain situations if Vinny and Mbappe are on the field. Or even if, like, you have like Vinny, Jude, Rodrigo, Mbappe, like all four of those guys in the field, because they all hedge to the left so much, and they have so many options there that you might even have it overly congested if you're having a fullback making overloads on top of those four players. So you don't necessarily need it, but certainly, like, in games like this, Fran just makes more sense than Mendy. There's no question.
The man of the match. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Man of the match. Mbappe, man of the match.
I think they gave it to him because Jude came off in the first half. Jude probably deserves it over the goal and assist. I think they just gave it to him because he played 90, took a bunch of shots. If you look at like the shot tally, he probably had like a bunch. And so from that perspective, the XG, if you like look at all that plus a goal, they're like, okay, like on the aggregate, he added more, is just what those metrics will say. But yeah, Jude was probably more decisive in the first half. Like he scored the penalty, created Mbappe's goal. I don't think there's much controversy there. I don't know if Mbappe deserved man of the match last game. I think there's a little bit of controversy where people feel the club is pandering to him, like giving him more awards.
But wait, who gives out the man of the match? Isn't it La Liga, or is it?
I'm not even sure, to be honest.
I'm pretty sure it's La Liga, not Real Madrid.
Okay, that makes sense. And also, I would add that there's also this narrative that they're trying to pander to what he wants by playing Vinny at striker. I think that was just the fact that Vinny is a better player now, so you can play him in other places and still get the same thing out of him because he's playing like one of the best players in the history of the game, and Mbappe is currently not. So, like, even though he has that potential, so we want to help him rediscover it by playing him where he's more comfortable. But the whole thing where we don't force feed him, as I repeat, is good. We're just playing him off the ball between the half space. If I don't believe in the Mbappe dictator narrative, though, I think that's weird too. I've just been seeing so many people like in a rush to want him to fail. I think that's been weird, Kian. I don't know why. Like, it's one thing to be critical. It's another to desire for him to fail. And it's not.
I don't think anyone actually feels that way. No one wants him to fail unless they're not Real Madrid fans.
There are just people who like might have said a few times that we don't want him anymore when he didn't sign, and now they're going back and like tripling down.
Yeah, you see. They want to be right, and so they double down rather than admitting things. But so just regards to the man of the match, maybe this is a good segue with our next super chat, because there are a couple of players that did stand out. By the way, Raul Asensio had 9 clearances. He had 5 of them by halftime, and the other one that stood out to me was Dani Ceballos. So Sagnick says, Ceballos always so classy. How I like my midfielders to play football. Crazy how he is our best midfielder in at least 3-4 different attributes of a midfielder. 110 touches today, most of anyone on the field. 1 interception, 3 tackles. 2 interceptions, 3 tackles. Sorry, I have a bunch of stats open. You shared this, our favorite account on Twitter, the only good bot on that damn account, Mark StatsBot, showing all of Ceballos' passes here on the map and how important of a ball progressor and ball carrier he was. Do you think, like, we kind of said this actually before the season started about, like, if you look at the profiles in the post-Cruz era that could help if Cruz is not on the field, Ceballos fits, and it's kind of a complicated one because when we say that it's not every version of Ceballos fits, it's the one that's consistent and plays well. That's the version we need. And when you get him playing like this, he actually is a huge asset to have on the field.
I didn't even realize how many passes he had by the end. That's crazy. But yeah, I feel like he just imposes himself a little less than Cruz, but he's there for sure. Maybe a little less like in the middle third onwards, but very comfortable, cozy in the first third. La Liga systems pointed that out very well, and I noticed the same. Like when he has to do it all, either he's the very central player and he plays really well, but he's not always composing games like these. I feel like where he needs to keep things ticking, but he's not the superstar. And today was very encouraging in that sense. If we could get like this is what we want from Modric too, and he's like younger, maybe a little more physical, can do more. But most importantly, like we're not going to have that conversation of is he too old with Modric. If he can take those 10, 15, 90s off Modric, it makes things much easier. It's so weird. Like it's easy to forget about him because he just went from like being like the hero of our wasted season to like just disappearing for a whole year while we win. It's really funny. Has he just been hurt? Like it's such a mess at our club that guys get hurt like this, where they're just in a limbo state of not being having a clear position.
I mean, he missed like the first 2 months or so from the season because he got injured in preseason. Remember?
Yes,
and he's been in and out. So yeah, he has had some stop-start nature to his game. Mr. Sushi says, I don't know if you guys were watching, but Bove collapsed in the Inter game. Hala Madrid and all, but please spread the news on that. Latest news is he is breathing on his own, but still unconscious. Game abandoned. That's horrible news. I had no idea. It's always really, really horrific when you see like stuff like that in football or in any sport. And so all I can say is I hope that he's okay. We've seen those collapses go horribly wrong, obviously, in past years, and there's been unfortunately several cases of those in football history. Luckily, I mean, this is news to me, so I'm just looking at the news frantically as I'm speaking. He is in hospital and breathing, so that's horrible. I can only say that I just hope that he recovers and everything is okay. Football is definitely a huge backseat to stuff like this. Thanks for bringing it to our attention, Mr. Sushi. Sid, I'm going to get kicked out of here soon. There's like 3 other guys left.
I'd like a little chat here. That's it.
We do? Where?
Oh, maybe not. Thought it was.
No, I don't think we do.
Oh, okay. Game abandoned. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, listen. Those are all the main talking points I had. It was nice to see Rodrigo back today. I don't think he was at his best, but it was really nice to see kind of his explosive line breaking. And he wasn't that prolific with his runs, but the few times he did, I mean, he had the situation in the first half where he cooks his man and then he gets fouled. No penalty. I mean, look, to be fair, I have never seen a replay of that incident, so I don't know if it was actually a penalty. You would know better than me.
I saw. It wasn't like at first it does look like it, but his hand was behind his shin and it bounced off his shin. His hand is just so close to his shin, but it is behind. So I don't think it could have slowed it down much at all. Like the shin did it. And so I don't think it touched it yet.
He had a couple like really electric line breaking sequences from the left side in the second half.
I actually don't. Sorry, I take that back. The Mbappe shot was not a penalty. The handball. The Rodrigo one looked like a penalty to me as well. Maybe they gave us a makeup call later too.
Brahim, what did you think? It's funny because like it felt like, and I'd have to look at the touches and where it compares to Mbappe's season average, but it did feel like he was having more usage today, in part because of Vinny, 5 shots, 57 touches. And I don't know if it maybe because he was so much more involved or so much more prevalent that I kind of didn't notice Brahim and Rodrigo as much. Brahim and Rodrigo both had less touches than Mbappe. But what did you think of Rodrigo and Brahim?
I thought they were noticeable before the goal. Well, after the goal, I think Mbappe is so fast and they played a higher line. So we just Brahim and Rodrigo can't make the runs at the speed he does physically, even if they tried. Before the goal, since they were sitting deeper, I thought Mbappe was less effective and these two were much better, both positioning wise, where they were popping up. When they combined on the right flank with Vasquez, I mean, they are two of our attacking leaders along with Vinicius. Like these three, I think Jude is great again and again, but I think his off ball runs are great. I think he's good at stitching, but he doesn't dribble and combine in near the flanks as often. If he does, it's on the left, and he's very direct. Like plays passes through the middle, makes runs through the middle, circulates. These guys, I feel like they're a little more unpredictable and they play a little wider. They're a little more like wingery, if that makes sense, and so. As a result, they're just really fluid. And because they were both able to play together in the same zone, they like Jude, when he was receiving the ball, even if he took good touches, they were all over him. They had like 3 guys on him. He was dropping, and then like 4 guys would notice him. They'd converge. He'd create space for others. These guys would take advantage of space created by others and like play with it. I guess maybe more space was given to them on the flank too. I think we need like everything we've got right now while Mbappe is not firing. That's what I saw.
Yeah, no question. And on that note, like Endrick didn't come in again, and Ancelotti said that he just didn't want to throw Endrick on with like 2 minutes left, and he used the words Mbappe was dangerous. That's why I kept him on, and obviously I think it's another way of saying we want Mbappe to score as many as possible just to bump his confidence.
Well, he did get like 0.56 xG chances too. There, like if you leave a guy on and he gets like 1 xG of chances, you probably made a decent choice.
So, I mean, I would do I'm not saying I wouldn't bring on Endrick, but I do co-sign on the idea of especially in games like this where the opponent is chasing the game, they're a bit open. I would leave Mbappe on for all 90 minutes just because we need him to keep scoring as many goals as possible to boost his confidence, because it's important for our season's success too. We need the best version of Mbappe to succeed this season, because he's not getting benched. So stop suggesting for him to be benched, because it's not a realistic solution. I did also just want to say I liked Modric off the bench today. Good transition defense, good touches, had 1 poor pass, but that was it. Good link up in the left. We had a really good sequence where he was the heart of it, where he sets up Fede Valverde for a stinging shot outside the box. And just going back to Raul Asensio, strong in the air, very strong in the air. He was basically fending off anything that happened in the box, whether it was a cross or a cutback or a run where he dispossessed the player. Getafe would do this thing where they would get Soria the ball and then send 4 attacking players trying to pin our center backs and our defensive line, and they would try to ping long balls to those 4 players. And the entire back line dealt well with it. Asensio, a lot of those went Asensio's way, and Asensio dealt with them really well. So I thought we did well in those situations. They just turned off the lights. I gotta use the bathroom, and I gotta upload this podcast on Spotify. Any concluding thoughts that are important? Otherwise, forever hold your peace.
I hope, if we beat Atlanta convincingly, I'm gonna be delusional. Like, if all I need to see is 2 good games from him where he like the bad touches are down to a minimum, maybe he gets a couple goals. I think that is the difference between us being back. But we'll see. A lot of injuries to go. I think we have hope again, though. I think it's safe to say some things have improved since Milan outside the Liverpool game, and we just got to build on this. Build on this. Don't build on this confidence for Mbappe. Build on how open he was getting in the second half. Keep doing the same. Let's build.
Yeah, listen, I also just wanted to, before we sign off here, I just wanted to say thank you to you and Mehedi and Jose and all the members who joined us from the Anfield post-game show. That was awesome having you guys in. And I also want to thank all the members who are joining us tomorrow for El Dia Después. And if you guys are not in on that yacht party yet, go to patreon.com/managingmadrid. We have a Black Friday discount happening right now. BFMM when you check out patreon.com/managingmadrid. And if you don't have Patreon in your country and you're watching on YouTube, simply hit join underneath this video or go to the YouTube memberships tab, save content. Sid, thanks, man. I appreciate you having good audio quality to balance my shitty audio quality tonight. And it was a pleasure having you guys on the live call on YouTube. Peace out, Madridistas. We'll see you tomorrow.